Well, we're here at the CCA Workbench and the Academy Outdoors and Sports. It's time for our rigs and techniques, right?
Correct.
So, Dave, what do we got? We're talking about pompanos. You got all kinds of fish bite stuff here.
Yes, I do. Well, fish bites makes a lot of stuff for surf fishing, and that's where you're going to catch them most of the time. In Florida here, on the East Coast especially, they come down in the wintertime. They flee the north. They want to come down to the warm Florida waters. They like waters between 70 and 80 degrees, is what they really like. So, up around North Florida, they'll start coming in there up around, October.
Right.
And then around my area up in Central Florida, it's, a little bit November, December, January, February, March, it's really good all through the wintertime.
Right.
So, and it's for several reasons. The water temp's a little warmer than it is up north. The ocean's rough, a little bit. It's usually rough in the wintertime, and it stirs stuff up and gets those fleas and crabs and clams and all that stuff in the surf, and that's what they're there to eat. They eat crustaceans and invertebrates.
Does the same thing apply with Patty's region down to Page's region and through Hags?
The wintertime, yep.
Migrate south down into Page.
Yep, they do. They stay up in that. It's the water stays pretty good up there. In the wintertime, it gets pretty cold, so they'll scoot out of there in the wintertime. But they'll get back around, April, when the cobia start coming.
Yeah.
You'll see a lot of guys out there pompano fishing as well. And
So how are we going to catch them?
Well, there's several ways, but in the surf, you obviously want to get a nice big surf rod and have a big surf stake so you can cast a long way out with a long rod. But the stake allows you to not only hold the rod, but a nice long one allows you to get the rod up even higher so that it gets the line above the breaking waves. And if you can get the line up above those breaking waves, you'll be able to monitor the rod better and see when you're actually getting bites. When you're using a big long rod, a more limber rod is probably going to be in your favor. The stiffer it gets, the less further you can cast, and then the less you can keep a load on it, which is very important because when you have these circle hooks and a 4-ounce weight, which is what you probably want to use, a 4-ounce, you never have to worry about it coming out and it works in the calm and when it gets rough. And if it's rougher, if a 4-ounce weight ain't holding, you're probably not going to catch much anyway.
Right.
But when you have that tension and that limber rod, it won't pull the weight out of the sand. It'll keep the tension on there, and you'll be able to see the bites when you get them. Because a lot of times it's not a big bite.
Right.
But especially if you have a lot of stretch and whatnot in your line.
Okay. So now we got a fish bites.
That's
rig.
a fish bites surf rig. Be perfect for pompano. Now you'll see some of them will have a bead on them, and other ones will have floats and pretty floats that are pretty obtrusive and pretty flashy. So you would want to use those when the water's getting turbid. You're really wanting to look for clean water. If you can find clean water, that's where you want to be. But if you can't, go ahead and use those rigs that have the nice chartreuse and orange and red floats on them, because it helps the pompano see it. But when you're going to use bait, which I usually use bait, you can use a pompano, just a fish bites by itself, and it'll work. But I like to use a bait too. And what I'll do is I'll take the head off, and then I'll just use this. I'll just cut the shrimp in half like that. Mm-hmm. And what I'll do is I'll put the shrimp on, and I'll usually try to hook it twice, so I don't fling it off. And that
show it to Andres over
and
there.
Believe me, it doesn't matter, because sometimes I'll fling them off anyway. But what really helps is if you put it on there twice, and then you put the piece of fish bites on there, and it'll lock it on, because that fish bite is hard to get off.
A fish bites chaser.
Correct.
So even the little fish that pick away at the shrimp, the cool part is the fish bites is still working for
right. Or even if I throw the shrimp off,
the fish bites.
The fish bites is still there, and I catch you catch a ton of fish with just the fish bites alone.
Now what about the leader size, Dave?
20-pound test. 20. Fluorocarbon.
Does pink matter?
Nope. You can use the pink or just clear, but I like the
diamond
pink. But I like the
fluorocarbon?
pink. Yeah, I like the pink.
Yeah.
Because it matches the surf.
And then certainly we got the
water.
Albi reels that you can use to get even
right.
that
Like
much
the Surf
additional.
Champion, a 65 GVCR, you can wing it. 100 yards if the fish are way out. You're looking for those places where there's two guts, preferably. Where you have a inshore bar and maybe an offshore bar. And if you can throw it over that offshore bar, in high tide, you can get a lot of bites out there, and the other guys might not be getting them. But sometimes they're in that gut right at your feet.
When we went, I saw Brie throwing out to the far.
She's in that commercial, that Alvey commercial.
It's the Alvey reels, man. What are you gonna do?
You can fling it.
You're gonna throw it a mile is what you're gonna do.
Let me see your shrimp fling.